Hey there, and welcome back to the How to Speak Fluent English podcast. I'm absolutely thrilled you're joining us today because we're diving headfirst into one of the most intriguing aspects of the English language.
That's right. We're talking about those wonderfully puzzling expressions. The ones where you can't just add up the individual words to figure out what's actually being said.
Idioms. They're like the inside jokes of English, aren't they? These little linguistic treasures are loaded with cultural history and hidden meanings that native speakers toss around without even thinking about it.
Absolutely. And today we've prepared something special, a comprehensive exploration of the most essential English idioms that you'll encounter in real conversations. So let's start with a few idioms that, they often come up when we talk about relationships, personal space, that kind of thing. First one, two's company, three's a crowd.
Ah, yes. This one perfectly nails that feeling, doesn't it? That specific social dynamic. The core idea is, when two people are together, maybe they're having a close chat, maybe romantic. Adding a third person just changes things. It can make it, less comfortable or maybe just not what the original two were looking for.
Like you imagine two friends really deep in conversation, or a couple on a date. Then someone else walks up, and instantly that one-on-one vibe, which can be really intimate or focused, shifts. It becomes a group thing, which needs different social energy, maybe feels less personal for the first two. It's not always like an insult to the third person, is it?
No, not necessarily. It's more statement about the preferred dynamic of a pair. Yeah, it just highlights how much we sometimes value that one-on-one connection or the specific comfort level you get with just two.
It's a neat way to say, basically, that the third person, each if they're great, kind of disrupts the specific atmosphere the first two wanted.
Exactly.
So you might hear it if, say, maybe a couple's planning a quiet anniversary dinner, just the two of them, and a well-meaning friend asks if they can join. The couple might think, maybe not say it out loud, two's company, three's a crowd for this. Or like you said, two people having a really intense personal talk. Someone else comes over, maybe pulls up a chair.
Yeah.
You might think to yourself, okay. Kind of feels like three's a crowd right now.
It can even go beyond just social stuff, right? Like maybe work?
Oh, definitely. Imagine two colleagues working brilliantly together. They found their rhythm on a project, and then a third person gets added to the team. The original two might feel, even if the new person is capable, that things have gotten a bit more complicated or less efficient. They might think, adding someone else right now feels a bit like two's company, three's a crowd for this specific task.
Yeah, it really is about that shift. Let's dive into the dangers of premature action with jump the gun, an idiom that warns us about the perils of moving too fast too soon.
The track and field origins make this so vivid. Picture sprinters crouched at the starting line, muscles tensed, waiting for that starting pistol. If someone bolts forward before the gun fires, they've literally jumped the gun and get disqualified for a false start.
That athletic imagery translates perfectly to everyday situations where timing is everything. It's about that dangerous combination of eagerness and impatience that makes us act before we should.
The consequences are usually immediate and frustrating. You end up having to backtrack, apologize, or start over because you didn't wait for the right moment or gathered enough information.
Social situations are perfect examples. I was so excited about getting the promotion that I jumped the gun and told my family before my boss made the official announcement. Turns out they're still deciding between candidates.
Or in project management, the marketing team jumped the gun by launching the campaign before the product was actually ready to ship. Now we have thousands of eager customers and nothing to sell them.
Even in relationships, I think I jumped the gun by bringing up moving in together on our third date. She looked terrified.
The wisdom here is about patience and proper timing, recognizing that enthusiasm is great, but strategic waiting often leads to better outcomes than rushing ahead blindly.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit now towards academic effort. An essential one, if you're studying, hit the books.
Yes. This means to start studying, but not just casually flicking through notes.
Right, it implies seriously studying, right, with focused dedication.
Exactly. Studying hard, diligently, often because you've got an exam coming up or some big assignment due. It signifies a period of focused academic work. The image might be of like physically hitting a pile of textbooks, but it just means buckling down and studying. It's the phrase students use to signal, okay, playtime's over, time to get serious about learning this stuff. It's all about that concentration and effort.
So finals week is approaching. A student would absolutely say, okay, exams start Monday. I seriously need to hit the books this weekend. Or maybe giving advice about achieving good grades. You might tell someone, look, you can't just hope for the best. You've got to hit the books regularly throughout the semester if you want to pass.
It can describe a group activity too, can't it?
Yeah, definitely. A few of us are meeting at the library later to hit the books for the biology midterm.
Let's pivot to a very person challenge, making up your mind. This next one captures indecision beautifully. Sit on the fence.
Oh, I love the visual for this one. You can just picture someone, right, perched precariously on top of a fence, not willing to jump down into the field on either the left or the right.
Exactly. It means you're avoiding making a decision. You're not saying which side of an argument you support or which option you prefer. You're remaining neutral, maybe deliberately, maybe because you genuinely can't decide. You're stuck in the middle, refusing to commit.
It signifies not moving decisively. This could be because, yeah, you're truly undecided, or maybe you want to avoid upsetting anyone. Or sometimes it's strategic, right? Like in politics, not wanting to alienate voters.
Yeah, the image of being on the fence just perfectly shows that state of limbo, not committing. It often comes up when there's a pretty clear choice, usually between two opposing views or options, and someone just won't choose.
Yeah. Sometimes it can sound a little critical, like you're implying they lack conviction, right? So imagine a really passionate debate happening. Everyone's taking a stance.
And there's one person who just keeps saying, well, I see both sides. You might observe, yeah, most people feel strongly, but Dave's just sitting on the fence on this one. Or maybe you're trying to make plans with a friend, like for the weekend, and they keep giving vague answers. You might eventually say, a bit frustrated, look, stop sitting on the fence. Are you coming camping with us or not? We need to know.
Huh. Yes. And the political example you mentioned, absolutely. A politician faced with a really divisive issue might carefully phrase their statements to avoid a clear yes or no. You'd say, the mayor seems to be sitting on the fence regarding the proposed bypass.
Makes sense.
Okay, so from navigating those social numbers, let's go to something everyone needs. Knowing when to stop working, the idiom, call it a day.
This one's super common. Yeah.
And incredibly useful. Fundamentally, it just means deciding to stop. Stop working on whatever you're doing, a project, a task, or just, work in general for the day.
Why stop?
Usual because you feel like you've done enough, or maybe you've hit a wall, or simply it's time to rest. It's that moment where you consciously decide, okay, finish for now. You're declaring the end of your effort for that period. It's like you're treating the completion of the work as the end of that specific day of effort, even if it's like 3 p.m.
Exactly. Gives a nice sense of closure. A signal that, okay, this phase is done, at least until tomorrow. It acknowledges the work you put in and the decision to, pause or stop completely. So picture this. You've been glued to your computer for hours, maybe writing something.
Yeah,
And your eyes are starting to feel blurry. Your brain feels kind of fuzzy.
Definitely time to say, okay, that's it. My brain is absolutely fried. I'm going to call it a day on this report. Or maybe after a really productive meeting, you've ticked all the boxes, made the key decisions.
Right.
The person leading the meeting might say, all right, team, great work. We've covered all the main points. Let's call it a day on this. It works for physical stuff too,
Yeah.
like gardening.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, you've spent hours digging, planting, you're covered in mud.
Sounds familiar.
You stand back, look at the flower beds, and think, wow, okay, that actually looks pretty good. I'm exhausted, but pleased. You'd say, right, I'm calling it a day out here.
Very satisfying.
Very practical.
Okay, staying with personal states, let's talk about something universal. Needing sleep. The idiom, hit the sack. This is just a really common, informal way to say you're going to bed. You're ready to sleep.
Like you're literally going to punch your bed or maybe fall heavily into an old-fashioned sack mattress.
Yeah, it's playful, but the meaning is simple. Retiring for the night, going to sleep. It's the phrase you reach for when you're tired, ready to wrap up the day and get some sleep. Very direct, very casual.
Totally. It's one of those phrases that just makes your English sound, more natural, more everyday. You probably wouldn't use it in a formal report, but with friends, family, perfect. So after a really long day, maybe you've been studying or working hard.
You'd collapse onto the sofa and say, I am absolutely wiped. Think I'm gonna hit the sack. Or if you're chatting with someone late at night, maybe on the phone.
Yeah. At some point, one of you is likely to say, okay, it's getting really late here. I should probably hit the sack. It can even be used for planning, right? Based on needing rest later.
Definitely. Like, we've got that super early flight tomorrow, so we really need to hit the sack by 9 p.m. tonight, latest.
Makes sense.
Now we're entering the territory of spectacular failures with go down in flames. This idiom doesn't describe your average, everyday disappointment. We're talking about epic, dramatic collapses that everyone can see coming from miles away.
Picture a plane spiraling out of control, engulfed in flames as it crashes. That's the level of catastrophic public failure this idiom captures. Not a quiet slip-up, but a full-blown disaster.
What makes this expression so powerful is the combination of completeness and visibility. When something goes down in flames, it doesn't just fail, it fails spectacularly, often with an audience watching the whole thing unfold and with lasting consequences.
Think about those high-profile business launches that get massive media attention only to crash and burn within weeks. The company's revolutionary new product went down in flames after customers discovered it barely worked and the CEO had to issue a public apology.
Or academic situations. Sarah's thesis defense went down in flames when the committee discovered she'd based her entire argument on outdated research.
It works perfectly for describing failed ventures, too. They poured their life savings into that trendy restaurant concept, but it went down in flames when they realized nobody in their small town wanted fusion cuisine.
The beauty of this idiom is how it captures not just the failure itself, but the dramatic, often embarrassing nature of how that failure unfolds, usually with plenty of witnesses and lasting consequences. Okay, let's shift to shared involvement, especially when things maybe haven't gone so well. The idiom, it takes two to tango.
Ah, the tango. You literally need two people, right?
Yeah, working together, interacting to dance the tango.
So metaphorically, it means that a situation or an outcome, particularly if it's unpleasant, happened because two people were involved. It implies shared responsibility, shared blame often.
Right? The key is that mutual participation. If something negative happens between two people, an argument, a mistake, whatever this, it basically says, hang on, you can't just blame one person.
Exactly. Both individuals were needed for that situation to play out the way it did. It really pushes back against trying to find a single scapegoat when, it clearly involved actions or reactions from both sides.
It's like saying, hold on a second, this didn't just appear out of nowhere. Both people played a part here. It forces you to acknowledge the other person's role too.
It does. So let's say two friends have a massive argument, a real falling out. Someone observing might comment, look, I know both really upset, but honestly, it takes two to tango in a fight like that. They both said things. Or maybe a business partnership dissolves, and one partner is blaming the other entirely.
Yeah. An outside observer, maybe a lawyer or a consultant, might say, from what I can see, the communication broke down on both sides. It takes two to tango when a partnership fails.
Does it always have to be negative, like blame, or can it just mean shared effort?
It usually implies blame or responsibility in a negative situation, but you could stretch it, I suppose, maybe for something complex that needed cooperation. But mostly you hear it when talking about arguments, affairs, failed deals, situations where assigning fault is common.
Well, even in a relationship breakdown due to poor communication, you could definitely say it's easy to point fingers, but relationships are complex. It takes two to tango when communication fails. Both people need to be involved in fixing it or in letting it fail.
Got it?
Okay, let's move to appreciating beauty. A lovely descriptive phrase. Pretty as a picture.
This is such a nice, simple compliment. It just means something or someone is very attractive, very beautiful, pleasant to look at.
It kind of evokes that idea of perfect, maybe slightly static beauty, doesn't it? Like something captured perfectly in a painting or a photograph.
Exactly. It implies a kind of visual perfection or harmony that's really pleasing to the eye, like looking at a postcard scene or a well-composed piece of art. It's a very common way to express admiration, and usually for visual appeal.
So you might describe a beautiful view, like after a hike.
Yeah, we finally reached the summit and the whole valley spread out below us. It was just pretty as a picture. Or complimenting someone's appearance. Wow, you look great. That new dress fits you perfectly. You look pretty as a picture.
Can it apply to things too? Like a decorated room?
Oh, absolutely. They did such a wonderful job decorating the nursery for the baby. The whole room looks pretty as a picture.
Nice.
Okay, now let's delve into something a bit hidden. See, secrets. The phrase skeletons in the closet.
Ooh, this is a good one. Very evocative imagery. It refers to embarrassing secrets or maybe shameful facts from someone's past that they really want to keep hidden. Like they're locked away, out of sight, like literal skeletons in a closet. The idea is that if these secrets got out, it could cause trouble, embarrassment, maybe damage their reputation.
Right? The phrase itself kind of hints that, well, maybe most people have something they'd rather keep private, don't they? It points to that gap between our public image and our private reality.
Exactly. It suggests that beneath the surface there might be hidden issues, past mistakes, things someone's actively concealing. And these secrets could range from slightly awkward to, really damaging if revealed. So a classic example is a politician maybe running for election.
Absolutely. Their opponents might try to dig up any skeletons in their closet to use against them during the campaign. Or thinking about families, maybe.
Yeah, you could say something like, every family has its stories and probably a few skeletons in the closet that just don't get talked about.
It can even be used more speculatively about someone who seems, almost too perfect.
Right? He presents such a flawless image, but you never know. There might be some skeletons in the closet we don't know about.
Intriguing.
Okay.
To very visible effort, specifically working late. This brings us to burn the midnight oil.
This is a classic. It means working or studying late into the night, well past your usual bedtime.
And the origin is quite literal, isn't it? From back when people needed oil lamps to see after dark.
Exactly. You were literally burning oil in your lamp to keep working. So the phrase emphasizes that effort, that sacrifice of sleep to get something done, usually because of a deadline or just a heavy workload. It signals dedication or maybe sometimes just poor time management leading to a late night. But it means working hard when you'd normally be resting.
It really conveys that sense of pushing through, working during those quiet late hours. So if you have a massive presentation due the next morning, you definitely tell your partner or roommate, "Looks like I'll be burning the midnight oil tonight to get these slides finished." Or if you notice a colleague consistently staying late at the office, you might comment, "Sarah's really been burning the midnight oil this month trying to hit that sales target." And it can also serve as a kind of warning, right, about the downsides?
Yeah, absolutely. You might advise someone you can't keep burning the midnight oil every single night. You're going to burn yourself out.
Good point.
Now let's celebrate excellence with go the extra mile, one of my favorite idioms, because it's all about exceeding expectations and showing genuine care through your actions.
This expression beautifully captures that moment when someone chooses to do more than the bare minimum. It's not about meeting requirements, it's about surpassing them with intention and heart.
What makes this idiom so powerful is that it recognizes effort as a choice. Anyone can do what's required, but going the extra mile means you're invested in creating something better, whether that's a superior outcome or a memorable experience for someone else.
The hospitality industry is where this really shines. The restaurant manager noticed it was our anniversary and went the extra mile by surprising us with complimentary dessert and having the chef personally explain each course.
In professional settings, it's often what separates good employees from exceptional ones. Maria doesn't just complete her assignments, she consistently goes the extra mile by researching additional solutions and presenting alternatives we hadn't considered.
And it's beautiful in personal relationships, too. When my car broke down at midnight, Jake didn't just offer to pick me up, he went the extra mile by bringing me coffee, staying while the tow truck came, and helping me research mechanics the next morning.
The underlying message is that going the extra mile isn't about grand gestures. It's about thoughtful actions that show you genuinely care about the outcome and the people involved.
It's the difference between doing your job and making a difference.
All right, moving to relationships and lasting connections, we have through thick and thin.
This is a wonderful idiom. It describes a relationship or maybe a commitment that stays strong and supportive no matter what happens, through good times and bad times.
It really speaks to unwavering loyalty, doesn't it? Thick suggests the difficult, dense, challenging times, and thin implies the easier, smoother periods. So being there through both means your support, your bond, it's constant. It doesn't matter if life is easy or incredibly hard. That's deep commitment.
It really is. You usually hear it used for those really close, enduring relationships, marriage, family ties, best friendships, places where people have genuinely weathered significant life events together. Like you might describe a couple who've been married for decades.
Exactly. My parents have faced a lot together over the years, but they've always stuck by each other through thick and thin.
Or talking about a really loyal friend.
She's more like family, really. She supported me through thick and thin since we were kids.
Can it apply to, say, a team or maybe even a business that's been through tough times?
Yes, I think so. You could say that small company really struggled during the recession, but the core team stuck together through thick and thin. It shows that resilience and loyalty. Now, shifting gears to describing things that are everywhere you look, let's talk about a dime a dozen.
This is such a vivid expression. It means something is so incredibly common and easy to find that it's lost any sense of being special or valuable. The beauty is in the imagery. Back when a dime had real purchasing power, if you could get 12 items for just 10 cents, they were clearly mass-produced and worthless.
The underlying message is about oversaturation. When something's a dime a dozen, the market is flooded with it, so individual examples don't stand out or command respect.
You'll hear this applied to everything from objects to skills to business types. Walking through Times Square, you might observe tourist trap restaurants are absolutely a dime a dozen around here.
Or in professional contexts, basic coding skills used to be rare and valuable, but now they're a dime a dozen. You need specialized expertise to really stand out.
Even for everyday products, those generic phone cases at the mall, they're a dime a dozen, all the same cheap plastic with different colors.
Now let's explore what happens when people chase shortcuts. And we're talking about cutting corners. This is a fascinating idiom because it perfectly captures that temptation we all face to find the fastest, cheapest route to getting something done. The problem is, cutting corners means sacrificing quality, safety, or thoroughness in the process. You're essentially trimming away the essential steps that ensure a job is done right, usually to save time, money, or effort.
It's all about compromising standards, and while that might be acceptable for trivial tasks, this phrase typically carries a warning tone. It suggests that whatever you're doing will come back to bite you because you didn't invest the proper care or resources.
This idiom really shines when we're talking about situations where quality absolutely cannot be compromised. Think construction, medical procedures, or financial planning.
Perfect example. The foundation is cracking because the original contractors cut corners on the concrete mix. They used inferior materials to boost their profit margins.
Or in professional settings, the marketing campaign flopped because we cut corners on market research. We rushed to launch without understanding our target audience.
It applies to everyday situations too. I cut corners cleaning the bathroom last week, and now I have to scrub twice as hard to get rid of the buildup.
The underlying message is powerful. Shortcuts often create more work in the long run. What seems like efficiency in the moment frequently turns into costly mistakes that require even more time and resources to fix properly.
Perfect. Now, let's explore what happens when ambition exceeds capability with bite off more than you can chew.
Imagine stuffing your mouth with food so large you can't actually chew or swallow it. As an idiom, it describes taking on challenges or responsibilities that exceed your current abilities or capacity.
It's essentially a reality check, either warning someone beforehand or reflecting on what went wrong afterward. The core idea is that someone has overcommitted themselves, diving into projects or responsibilities that simply exceed what they can realistically handle, given their current resources, time constraints, or skill level.
Exactly. And the inevitable outcome? Burnout, subpar performance, or complete failure because they've stretched themselves impossibly thin. It's fundamentally about self-awareness and understanding your personal boundaries.
Picture this scenario. Your coworker mentions they're planning to pursue an MBA while juggling a demanding full-time position and parenting 2 toddlers. You might tactfully respond, "Wow, that's an ambitious plan. Just make sure you're not biting off more than you can chew with everything on your plate."
It's equally powerful for self-reflection and admitting past mistakes. Looking back, I definitely bit off more than I could chew when I agreed to organize the company retreat, launch the new website, and train the interns all in the same month.
This idiom is particularly relevant for learning contexts too, isn't it? Students often fall into this trap.
Absolutely. Imagine a freshman deciding to tackle advanced physics, intermediate French, competitive debate, and part-time work simultaneously. That's a classic case of biting off more than you can chew, enthusiasm without realistic planning.
The beauty of this expression is how it captures that universal human tendency to overestimate our capabilities while underestimating the actual demands of what we're taking on. Okay, let's shift focus to health.
Here's a very common, quite polite way to say you're not feeling well: under the weather.
Oh yes, this is incredibly common, especially among native speakers. It just means you're feeling a bit ill, maybe a little unwell, not quite yourself.
What I love about this idiom is how perfectly vague it is. You can use it whether you've got a splitting headache, a runny nose, or just that general blah feeling when something's not quite right with your body.
Precisely. It captures that universal experience of feeling off. Maybe you're coming down with something. Maybe you're fighting off a bug. Or perhaps you're just having one of those days where your energy is completely zapped. While it's primarily for physical ailments, you might occasionally hear it used for emotional low points too.
It's workplace gold, honestly. Instead of oversharing about your symptoms, you can simply tell your manager, "I'm feeling under the weather today and need to take a sick day."
Or when you're catching up with friends. "Sorry I missed dinner last night. I was feeling pretty under the weather." It works for describing others too. "Sarah's been under the weather this whole week with some nasty flu."
And here's a bonus. It's perfect for talking about recovery. "I felt terrible under the weather yesterday, but I'm bouncing back today."
Now let's shift to something more positive: being on the ball. This is one of those idioms that's pure praise, describing someone who's mentally sharp, highly competent, and always ready to tackle whatever comes their way.
I love this expression. Think of an athlete who never takes their eyes off the ball. They're focused, prepared, and ready to react instantly. That's exactly what this idiom captures about someone's mental state and performance.
It's the ultimate professional compliment, really. When you say someone's on the ball, you're acknowledging their attention to detail, their proactive thinking, and their ability to stay ahead of the curve. These are people who don't just react, they anticipate.
Absolutely. Picture that colleague who seems to have everything under control. Jessica is incredibly on the ball. She spotted the budget discrepancy before anyone else even noticed there was an issue.
You'll also hear it used as encouragement or advice. Make sure you stay on the ball during tomorrow's client presentation. They're known for asking tough questions out of nowhere.
And it works beautifully for describing expertise in specific areas. When it comes to social media trends, Marcus is always on the ball. He knows what's happening before it even goes viral.
What makes this idiom so useful is that it captures both competence and awareness. Someone who's not just skilled, but also tuned in and responsive to their environment.
Let's talk about emotional pressure release with blow off steam. This idiom is all about finding ways to discharge built-up stress, frustration, or intense emotions before they overwhelm you.
Think of an old-fashioned steam locomotive with pressure building up in the engine. If that steam doesn't get released through the valve, the whole thing could explode. That's exactly what happens with our emotions when we don't find healthy outlets.
It's such a practical concept because we all accumulate emotional pressure throughout our daily lives. This idiom recognizes that we need intentional ways to let that pressure escape safely.
The beauty is that blowing off steam can take so many forms. After a brutal day of back-to-back meetings, you might tell your partner, "I'm completely wound up from work. I think I'll hit the gym to blow off some steam."
But it's not limited to physical activities, is it? Sometimes the best steam blowing involves creative or mental outlets.
Absolutely. When my boss really gets under my skin, I blast my favorite playlist and have a solo dance party in my living room. It's my go-to way to blow off steam.
Gaming works too. After that stressful presentation, I need to blow off steam with some mindless video games for an hour.
And it's perfect for giving advice. You've been carrying so much stress lately, you really need to find some way to blow off steam regularly or it's going to start affecting your health.
The key insight is that emotional pressure is natural and inevitable, but we have control over how we release it constructively.
Now we're diving into a cautionary tale about relationships, burning bridges. This is one of those idioms that carries serious weight because it's about the permanent damage we can inflict on our professional and personal connections.
The metaphor is absolutely brilliant, isn't it? Picture yourself crossing a bridge to escape something unpleasant, then setting that bridge ablaze behind you. Sure, you've made your dramatic exit, but now you're completely cut off from ever returning to that side.
That's exactly what this idiom captures, destroying relationships or opportunities so thoroughly that there's no path back. It's usually the result of acting in anger, being unprofessional, or saying things that can't be unsaid.
The workplace is where this idiom really comes alive. We've all heard horror stories of people who quit in spectacular fashion. Maybe they sent scathing emails, badmouthed their boss publicly, or stormed out dramatically.
Classic scenario. Tom was so frustrated with his manager that he posted a rant about the company on social media and called out specific colleagues by name. He completely burned his bridges there. They'll never hire him back or give him a reference.
The wisdom here is thinking beyond the immediate satisfaction of venting your anger. Industries are smaller than you think, and people have long memories.
Exactly. The advice is always, no matter how toxic the situation feels, don't burn bridges on your way out. You never know when those connections might be valuable again.
It's really about emotional intelligence, recognizing that temporary frustration isn't worth permanent consequences.
Let's explore the moment of surrender with throw in the towel. This idiom captures that pivotal decision when you finally decide to stop fighting and accept defeat.
The boxing origins make this expression incredibly vivid. A boxer getting pummeled in the ring. When their corner team sees they can't take any more punishment, they literally hurl a towel into the ring to signal enough. It's a dramatic gesture of protective surrender.
What I find fascinating is how this idiom has evolved to represent any situation where you reach your breaking point and decide to quit, whether it's a project, a relationship, or a personal goal.
It's that universal moment of exhaustion where you think, I've given this everything I have and it's just not working. Like when you've been troubleshooting your computer for hours. I've tried every solution online, restarted it 20 times, and even called tech support twice. I'm ready to throw in the towel and just buy a new one.
But here's what's interesting. The idiom often appears in contexts where people are being encouraged not to give up. Like, I know this job search has been brutal, but don't throw in the towel just yet. The right opportunity could be right around the corner.
Exactly. It's frequently used to highlight the contrast between quitting and persevering. Despite facing bankruptcy, the small business owner refused to throw in the towel and eventually turned the company around.
The power of this expression lies in how it acknowledges that sometimes surrender is the wise choice, while other times pushing through that urge to quit leads to breakthrough moments.
Time to explore intense irritation with drive someone up the wall, an idiom that perfectly captures those moments when annoyance reaches its absolute peak.
I love how this expression visualizes frustration. So agitated that you're literally ready to scale the walls like a caged animal desperate to escape. That's the level of maddening irritation we're talking about here.
What's brilliant about this idiom is how it acknowledges that some things don't just mildly bother us, they push us to the edge of our patience until we feel genuinely frantic with annoyance.
The triggers are so relatable too. Repetitive sounds are classic wall drivers. My neighbor's leaf blower at 7 a.m. every Saturday is absolutely driving me up the wall.
Or those persistent habits that somehow get under your skin. The way my coworker loudly chews ice during every video call is driving me up the wall. I can't concentrate on anything else.
Technology frustrations are perfect for this idiom. This software keeps crashing right when I'm about to save my work, and it's driving me up the wall.
What I find interesting is that this expression often describes things that might seem minor to others, but feel absolutely maddening to the person experiencing them.
Exactly. It validates those moments when you think, am I overreacting, or is this genuinely making me lose my mind? The idiom says, no, you're not crazy. Some things really are that annoying.
Now let's explore life's surprising plot twists with blessing in disguise, an idiom that captures those beautiful moments when what initially feels like disaster actually leads to something wonderful.
This expression is pure wisdom about perspective and timing. It's about recognizing that life's setbacks often wear masks. What looks like misfortune on the surface might actually be redirecting you towards something much better.
The disguise part is so clever because it acknowledges that blessings don't always announce themselves with fanfare. Sometimes they show up looking like problems, failures, or disappointments, and only reveal their true nature with time and hindsight.
Career disruptions are classic examples. Getting passed over for that promotion felt crushing, but it motivated me to start my own business, which has been incredibly fulfilling. Looking back, not getting promoted was definitely a blessing in disguise.
Relationship endings often fit this pattern too. My ex breaking up with me was heartbreaking at the time, but it freed me up to meet someone who's actually compatible with my goals and values. That breakup was a blessing in disguise.
Even everyday inconveniences can transform. Our vacation rental falling through seemed like a nightmare, but the backup place we found was half the price and twice as charming. Total blessing in disguise.
What makes this idiom so powerful is how it encourages resilience and optimism. It suggests that even when life throws curveballs, there might be hidden opportunities waiting to unfold.
It's like life's way of saying, trust the process, even when the process looks messy.
Let's celebrate precision with hit the nail on the head, one of those satisfying idioms that recognizes when someone gets something absolutely perfectly right.
The carpentry metaphor is brilliant. Anyone who's ever used a hammer knows that satisfying feeling when you strike the nail cleanly and drive it straight down in one perfect hit. That's exactly the precision this idiom celebrates in communication and understanding.
What I love about this expression is how it acknowledges those rare moments when someone cuts through all the confusion and complexity to identify the exact heart of an issue. It's intellectual bullseye.
It's perfect for workplace situations where someone finally diagnoses a persistent problem. We've been struggling with low team morale for months, but when Lisa suggested it was because people felt excluded from decision-making, she absolutely hit the nail on the head.
Or those moments in conversation when someone perfectly articulates what everyone's been thinking. When David said this meeting could have been an email, he hit the nail on the head. We all felt that, but nobody wanted to say it.
It works beautifully for personal insights, too. My therapist said I was avoiding commitment because I was afraid of losing my independence, and wow, she really hit the nail on the head with that observation.
The beauty of this idiom is how it combines accuracy with impact. It's not just about being right, it's about being precisely, meaningfully right in a way that resonates and clarifies everything.
It's the verbal equivalent of that perfect click when puzzle pieces finally fit together.
Now let's explore the moment when courage abandons us, getting cold feet. This idiom captures that awful feeling when your confidence suddenly evaporates right when you need it most.
That sensation of your feet literally going cold when fear kicks in. It's like your body is preparing to run away from whatever you're about to do.
What makes this expression so relatable is how it describes that specific type of fear, not general anxiety, but the sudden panic that strikes right before a big moment. You've planned, you've prepared, and then boom, your nerve completely fails you.
Weddings are the classic scenario, of course. Everything was perfect for the ceremony, but Jake got serious cold feet during the rehearsal dinner and started questioning whether he was ready for marriage.
But it happens in so many other high-stakes situations too. Career moves are huge triggers. I'd been planning to quit my job for months, had my resignation letter ready, but when I saw my boss's calendar invite for our meeting, I got complete cold feet.
Or those moments when you're about to take a personal leap. I was finally going to tell my best friend how I really felt about her, but when she opened the door, I got cold feet and just asked if she wanted to grab coffee instead.
The fascinating thing is how this idiom acknowledges that fear is often strongest right at the threshold of action, when the thing you've been planning becomes suddenly terrifyingly real.
It's that moment when your brain screams, wait, are we actually doing this?
Let's tackle the art of indirect communication with beat around the bush, an idiom that perfectly captures those frustrating moments when people dance around what they really want to say.
The hunting origins make this so vivid. Picture medieval hunters literally beating bushes to scare birds out, instead of going directly after their target. That's exactly what this idiom describes, taking the long, indirect route instead of addressing something head-on.
What's fascinating is how this behavior usually stems from discomfort or anxiety. People beat around the bush when they're nervous about reactions, delivering difficult news, or asking for something they're not sure they'll get.
You see this constantly in workplace conversations. My manager spent 15 minutes talking about company culture and team dynamics before finally mentioning that my project deadline had been moved up by 2 weeks. I wish he'd just stopped beating around the bush from the start.
Or in personal relationships when someone's trying to bring up a sensitive topic. My roommate kept complaining about noise levels and sleep schedules for 20 minutes before finally admitting she wanted me to move out. All that beating around the bush just made it more awkward.
Sometimes you need to call it out directly. Look, I can tell you're trying to tell me something important. Can you please stop beating around the bush and just say what's on your mind?
The underlying message is about communication efficiency and honesty. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is be direct, rather than making everyone endure the uncomfortable dance of avoidance. Let's explore the wisdom of letting go with "don't cry over spilled milk," an idiom that's all about releasing regret and moving forward constructively.
The simplicity of this metaphor is its genius. Picture accidentally knocking over a glass of milk. It spreads everywhere, soaks into everything, and there's absolutely nothing you can do to put it back in the glass. That's life sometimes.
What makes this expression so powerful is how it distinguishes between productive reflection and destructive rumination. It's not saying don't learn from mistakes, it's saying don't get stuck in endless regret about things you can't change.
It's perfect for those moments when someone's beating themselves up unnecessarily. I know you're disappointed about missing that job interview because of traffic, but there's no point crying over spilled milk. Let's focus on rescheduling and preparing even better for the next one.
Or when friends are spiraling about past decisions. Yes, you probably should have invested in that stock 5 years ago, but crying over spilled milk won't change your portfolio now. What investment opportunities are available today?
I love how it applies to everyday situations too. The presentation file got corrupted and we lost 3 hours of work. It's frustrating, but no use crying over spilled milk. Let's divide up the sections and recreate it together.
The deeper wisdom here is about emotional energy management. Recognizing when your feelings are helping you grow versus when they're just keeping you stuck in the past.
It's essentially saying, grieve quickly, learn thoroughly, then move forward decisively.
Now let's explore the regret of lost opportunities with "miss the boat," an idiom that captures that sinking feeling when you realize a great chance has sailed away without you.
The maritime metaphor is absolutely perfect, running toward the harbor just as the ship pulls away from the dock. You can see it leaving, but there's nothing you can do. That opportunity is literally sailing into the distance.
What makes this expression so relatable is how it highlights the crucial role of timing in life. Sometimes it's not about capability or worthiness, it's simply about acting when the moment is right.
Shopping scenarios are classic examples. I'd been eyeing those concert tickets for weeks, debating whether to splurge. By the time I decided to buy them, they were completely sold out. I totally missed the boat on seeing my favorite band.
Career opportunities often fit this pattern too. The startup I interviewed with last year just went public and made their early employees millionaires. I turned down their offer because the salary seemed low at the time. Definitely feel like I missed the boat there.
Even in relationships, I had such a crush on my study partner in college, but I was too shy to ask her out.
She's married now, and I always wonder if I missed the boat by not speaking up.
The underlying lesson is about balancing careful consideration with decisive action. Sometimes overthinking or perfectionism can cost us valuable opportunities.
It's life's reminder that timing isn't everything, but it's definitely something we can't ignore.
Let's dive into solidarity with "in the same boat," an idiom that transforms individual struggles into shared experiences and mutual support.
Imagine everyone crowded onto the same vessel, facing identical storms and choppy waters. Your individual fate becomes intertwined with everyone else's. If the boat goes down, you all go down together. But if it reaches safe harbor, you all celebrate together.
What makes this expression so powerful is how it instantly creates connection and empathy. Instead of feeling isolated in your problems, you realize others are navigating the exact same challenges.
Academic stress is a perfect example. I see you pulling all-nighters for this research paper too. Don't feel bad about struggling with the citations. Honestly, we're all in the same boat trying to figure out this professor's impossible requirements.
Workplace uncertainty brings out this idiom constantly. With all these layoff rumors floating around, we're all in the same boat feeling anxious about job security. At least we can support each other through the uncertainty.
It's beautiful how it encourages collaboration. Listen, we're all in the same boat trying to meet this impossible deadline with half the usual budget. Instead of competing, let's pool our resources and tackle this together.
The deeper message is about finding strength in shared vulnerability, recognizing that common struggles can actually become the foundation for stronger relationships and better teamwork.
It's essentially saying, your problem is my problem, so let's solve it together.
Let's wrap up with some uplifting encouragement through "keep your chin up," one of those beautifully simple idioms that offers hope when life gets challenging.
When we're defeated or depressed, we literally hang our heads and look down. This idiom is like a gentle hand, lifting your face back up to meet the world with courage.
What I find beautiful about this expression is how it acknowledges that difficult times are real and valid, but it also insists that hope and resilience are choices we can make even in dark moments.
It's the perfect response when someone's going through a rough patch. I know losing that job feels devastating right now, but keep your chin up. Your skills and experience haven't disappeared, and the right opportunity will come along.
Sports teams use this constantly after setbacks. "We got crushed in the championship game, but keep your chins up, team. This experience is going to make us hungrier and more determined next season."
Even for everyday struggles. I know studying for medical school feels overwhelming, but keep your chin up. Thousands of people have walked this path before you and succeeded.
The beauty of this idiom is its simplicity and universality. It doesn't promise that problems will disappear, but it reminds us that our posture, both physical and emotional, affects how we face those challenges.
It's essentially saying, stand tall, look forward, and remember that this difficult moment doesn't define your entire story.
What an incredible journey we've just taken together. We've explored the fascinating landscape of English idioms, from health and relationships to workplace dynamics, decision-making, and emotional support. Each phrase we discussed is like a little cultural treasure chest.
Absolutely. And here's what's so exciting about mastering these expressions. They don't just expand your vocabulary, they unlock a completely different dimension of English communication. You move from speaking textbook English to speaking like someone who truly understands the cultural heartbeat of the language.
That's exactly right. These idioms are essentially the DNA of natural English conversation. They carry generations of shared experiences, cultural wisdom, and collective understanding that native speakers absorb without even realizing it.
The transformation is remarkable when you start incorporating these naturally. Your English doesn't just become more accurate, it becomes more colorful, more expressive, and infinitely more engaging. People connect with you differently when you speak their linguistic language.
And here's the key insight. Don't approach idioms like a memorization exercise. Instead, think of them as windows into how English speakers actually think and feel about life's universal experiences, success,
failure, relationships, challenges, hope.
The most effective learning strategy: become an idiom detective. Listen actively during conversations, pay attention in movies and TV shows, notice how these expressions flow naturally in context. Then, and this is crucial, practice using them in your own conversations, even if it feels awkward at first.
That's where the magic happens, when you stop translating and start thinking in idioms. Before you know it, you'll be hitting the nail on the head with your English fluency.
We're absolutely thrilled you joined us. If this episode helped you discover new expressions or gave you fresh insights into familiar ones, we'd love to hear from you. Your feedback helps us create even better content for English learners everywhere.
Keep practicing, stay curious about the language, and remember, every native speaker was once learning these expressions for the first time too. You're not just studying English, you're joining a global community of communicators.
Until next time, keep your chin up, don't miss the boat on practicing these idioms, and remember, we're all in the same boat on this language learning journey. Thanks for listening to How to Speak Fluent English, and we'll catch you in the next episode.